So today we're doing a classic vegetarian dim sum spring roll recipe, and I've loaded these guys up with vegetables. You guys can feel free to put in things like vermicelli noodles or strips of tofu, and it's going to be magnificent. It's also baked and not fried, which makes it all the more awesome. So I can't wait to show you guys this recipe, so let's head over to the kitchen and then let's get started. Alrighty guys, so I'm going to start off by straining a can of bamboo shoots, and they're just really packed up in water. I usually can find these in normal grocery stores nowadays as well. So you're just going to strain it, take away the water, and then leave it off to the side just to dry up a little bit. So here I have 5 pretty good sized shiitake mushrooms that I have soaked overnight, or you can just do it for about like 4 hours or so just to make them like nice and moist and all plumped up. So I'm just cutting off a little bit of the stems because sometimes they're dirty and then sometimes they can be really hard, but then just shredding them up into small, fine strips. So I'm just putting these guys in with some shredded cabbage. I did about 3/4 of a head of like a small to medium sized cabbage, and then 1 cup of grated carrots go in. I really wanted these spring rolls to be more vegetables focused, so if you guys want, you can put in some vermicelli noodles and some tofu like I had mentioned earlier, and I'll put those amounts down below. So I put in about a 1/2 cup of bamboo shoots to this, but if you've never tried bamboo before, I would recommend a 1/4 cup to start off with because the taste is a little bit funky, okay? So I'm just going to put in a teaspoon of minced garlic, and I'm actually not going to put any oil in this filling except a little bit of sesame oil towards the end for flavor, okay? So I'm just putting this medium heat until the garlic gets kind of a little bit brown, and then I'm going to put all of the vegetables in. So I happen to save some of that shiitake mushroom liquid from before, and you really only want to put a tablespoon in. That might have been a little bit too much, and that'll just help the vegetables wilt down because you don't want a wet filling when you're about to mix. So here come the rest of the flavoring ingredients. I have a 1/4 teaspoon of white pepper, I have a little bit of salt, a little bit of sugar, and then also a little bit of cornstarch that we will be putting on later. This is a teaspoon of rice wine, and then I have 1½ teaspoons of soy sauce, followed by another teaspoon of this vegan vegetarian stir fry sauce, or my vegan oyster sauce. And that's just gonna provide some body and then as well as some like sweetness to this mix as well. So I just let this mixture cook for 3 to 4 minutes over medium-high heat, and you guys can see sometimes there's also just a little bit of moisture left, so that's when you want to add your tablespoon of cornstarch or a tablespoon of potato starch if you guys have it. Once the starch is cooked off, give it about a minute or so. You can feel free to just turn off the heat, and then you're just going to add your scallions in. That way it won't really lose its color and it won't wilt too much. So towards the end is where I will be adding 1 teaspoon of sesame oil, and this really helps just to elevate the flavor of the filling, and it's not going to make it taste or feel greasy at all. So now I'm preparing the oil that I will use to brush on top of the spring roll. So a lot of people feel that you don't get the color that you want if you don't deep fry it. So these are annatto seeds, and they're kind of a natural way of making your oils or anything really that you want be a little bit more yellow and a little bit more orange. So I have a 1/4 cup of oil along with probably like a 1/2 teaspoon of annatto seeds, and you just want to heat that up into the microwave for about 30 seconds and then leave it on the side for about 15 minutes to get some color. So now time for assembly. So these are my spring roll wrappers that I used also in the banana spring roll special. So they remind me of phyllo, but just a tad thicker. So you just want to pull apart each piece, and they don't dry out too quickly if you're going to use all of them up, okay? So I'm going to put in about I would say like 2 tablespoons. I kind of filled these up pretty amply, and you just really want to roll up and up until you get to probably like the center part of it. So you start from a diamond and then you roll up, and then this is actually a really cool trick that I learned online. So you fold one side and then you fold it one more time before folding the other side, and that way you're not going to get like a big clump of like all of this dough in the middle, so it's just more evenly distributed. And then once you reach up top, I have a mixture of a little bit of cornstarch as well as a little bit of water, and then that is what is going to glue everything down together. So seam side down, and that should really just close by itself. So I'm just putting it onto a rack, and then I put a piece of parchment on the bottom in case if anything spills out or oozes out. This is going to save you a lot of time cleaning. Alrighty, so that looks about good. So that goes onto the wire rack, and this makes about 8 to 9 spring rolls. So before we put it into the oven, it's 425. This is the oil, and this is what happened to it. So see how much color this actually picked up just after a little bit of heat and then a little bit of time sitting there. So you're just gonna brush it like a light layer over both sides of the spring roll because you want it to get nice and crunchy, and because there's no oil, this is going to be your oil. So anyways, this goes into the oven, 425, 20 minutes, and then flip it over and then do it for another about 10 minutes, just up until it gets nice and crunchy like this. See how that oil gave it a really nice color as well? So these guys are actually really good. You don't have to deep fry anything. So it's really cool. If you cut it on the bias, it reminds me a little bit more of like how a restaurant would serve it, and you can see all of that like yummy and delicious veggie filling. Anyways guys, that's about it. Feel free to put in a dipping sauce right on the side, but you guys are going to love these. As usual, if you want to see more recipes like this, remember to hit that like and subscribe button, and I will see you guys again next time. Bye!